Day of Mourning.
I'm good.
My name is Mourning. I am an Aquina Wampanoag. Aquina is a little tiny town on the end of Martha's Vineyard, which is a little tiny island off of Cape Cod. I am the co-leader of United American Indians of New England. And I have a few words for everyone. I've been told to hold up. Right, they're trying to hook up a live feed from National Day of Mourning because there are people throughout the country who are very, very interested in what we do and what has been happening up in the Dakotas. So, can everyone hear me? Okay, good, good. Okay. Once again, on the fourth Thursday in November, United American Indians of New England and those who support us have gathered on this hill to observe National Day of Mourning. Today marks the 47th time we have come here, in all kinds of weather, to mourn our ancestors and speak truth about our history. Those who started National Day of Mourning could not have envisioned that their descendants and the descendants of their supporters would still be here year after year, carrying on this tradition. Many of the elders who stood on this hill and organized the first day of mourning are no longer with us, but we feel their spirits guiding us today. Now, National Day of Mourning should always been a part of the history of this country. 46 years ago, my father, an Aquina Wampanoag man named Wamsutta Frank James, was invited to address a so-called gathering of so-called dignitaries celebrating the 350th anniversary of the stumbling ashore of the Pilgrims. When asked by the organizers of the dinner to provide an advanced copy of the speech he planned to deliver, Wamsutta agreed. Within days, he was told his words were not acceptable. The planners of the gathering, fearing the truth, told him he could speak only if he were willing to speak false words in praise of the white man. The organizers were even willing to write a speech for him. After all, they said, and I quote, "The theme of the celebration is brotherhood, and anything inflammatory would be out of place." He refused to have words put into his mouth. National Day of Mourning came into being as a result of his refusal to speak untrue words. Instead of speaking at the banquet, he and many hundreds of native people from throughout the Americas gathered on this hill and observed the first National Day of Mourning, 1970, so many years ago. But what was it that got those state officials so upset? Wamsutta used as a basis for his remarks one of their own history books, Mort's Relation, a pilgrim account of their first year on Indian land. What really happened at the first Thanksgiving, or what some of us call the first Thanksgiving? According to popular myth, the Indians, that's us, and the Pilgrims, that's them, sat down and had a wonderful dinner. Everyone lived happily ever after, the end. Well, that truth has been largely buried for 397 years. In 2020, Plymouth is planning to celebrate 400 years of the same myth. And I don't think that anyone from United American Indians of New England is going to be invited to address that banquet. If we are, rest assured that no advance copy of our remarks will be sent. But here is the truth. The first Thanksgiving did not take place in 1621, when the Pilgrim survivors of the first winter sat down to dinner with their Indian friends. The first official day of Thanksgiving in Massachusetts was proclaimed by Governor Winthrop of the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1637. And he did this to give thanks for the safe return of men from the colony who had gone to what is now Mystic, Connecticut, to participate in the massacre of over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot Nation. What is true is that these pitiful European strangers would not have survived their first several years in New England, were it not for the aid of the Wampanoag people. What Native people got in return for this help was genocide, the theft of our lands, and never-ending repression. And here's another truth. The reason that the myth makers prefer to talk about the Pilgrims and not the earlier English-speaking colony, Jamestown, is that the Jamestown circumstances were way too ugly to hold up as an effective national myth. For example, the white settlers in Jamestown turned to cannibalism to survive. Not a very nice story to tell the kids in school, now is it? The Pilgrims did not find an empty land any more than Columbus discovered anything. Every inch of this land is Indian land. The Pilgrims, who call themselves saints, did not come here seeking religious freedom. They already had that in Holland. They came here as part of a commercial venture. The Mayflower Compact was nothing more than a bunch of white men and women sticking together to ensure that they would get a return on their investment. They introduced sexism, racism, and a class system to these shores. And guess what? They did not even land at that sacred shrine down the hill called Plymouth Rock. And that is a monument to racism and oppression, which we are proud to say we buried, not once, but twice in 1970 and again in 1995. Now, upon arriving, the Pilgrims opened my ancestors' graves and took funeral objects. They also took as much as they could carry of our corn and bean supplies. Massasoit, the great sachem of the Wampanoag, knew of this, yet he and the Wampanoag people welcomed and befriended the settlers, saving them from extinction. Little knowing how many Wampanoag and other indigenous people would be killed by their guns or dead from their diseases. Need I mention from the North Pole to the South Pole? Later, from the very harbor, we can see from here, the pious Pilgrims sold my ancestors as slaves for 220 shillings each. Now, in today's money, that's about $33, give or take. Some would ask what we have gained by observing National Day of Mourning since 1970. The very fact that you are here is perhaps our greatest gain. People from the four directions, having seen through the Pilgrim myth, join us every year in the struggle to destroy that mythology. There are two plaques erected by Plymouth, one on Coles Hill, that's the name of this hill, to honor Day of Mourning, and another at Post Office Square to honor Metacom or King Philip. This was part of an agreement we signed with Plymouth in 1998. Those of us who were here in 1997 will never forget what happened to our peaceful march. After a powerful show of unity demanding all charges be dropped, Plymouth was forced to drop the charges and erect the plaques. Yes. Now there are at least 2 rocks in Plymouth that speak the truth. The placement of these plaques does not end the need for us to continue to come to Plymouth and speak the truth. We will do so as long as sports teams and schools continue to use racist team names and mascots.
Yes.
And as a little bit of an aside, I love the Chicago Cubs. I really do. We will continue to gather on this hill until the U.S. military and corporations stop polluting our mother, the earth. We will continue to stand here and protest until racism is made illegal. We will not stop until the oppression of our two-spirited sisters and brothers is a thing of the past. When the homeless have homes, when the people from Mexico, Central and South America are no longer targeted, when no person goes hungry or is left to die because they have little or no access to quality health care. when union busting is a thing of the past. Until then, the struggle will continue. That first National Day of Mourning in 1970 was a powerful demonstration of Native unity. Today is a powerful demonstration of not only Native unity, but the unity of all people who want to speak truth to power. People who want the truth to be told and want to see an end to the oppressive system brought to these shores by the Pilgrim invaders. Sadly, the conditions which prevailed in Indian country in 1970 still prevail today. In 1970, we demanded an end to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. It is still a demand today. Native nations do not need federal oversight to govern ourselves. Those who started Day of Mourning spoke of terrible racism and poverty. Now more than ever, we all know that racism is alive and well. Not only Native people, but many people from the four directions are mired in deepest poverty. Every winter, millions of people are forced to make a better choice between heating and eating. Native youth suicide and school dropout rates, our rates of alcoholism, continue to be the highest in the nation. And today we are facing a very serious threat to the beautiful land and water. I am speaking in particular of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Go ahead, you can boo. All right. I don't mind getting booed once in a while. The plan is to put a pipeline under the Missouri River. The city of Bismarck did not want this pipeline, so it has been moved to go right by Standing Rock. This threatens their land and water, desecrates their sacred land, threatens the water of millions. We pray and stand with the people of Standing Rock. We also pray for our people who have died during this past year and during the past 524 years since Columbus showed up. I hope that you will join me in grieving too for our sisters and brothers in all countries, human beings who are referred to by this government as collateral damage. Keep in mind that for centuries, people throughout the Americas have been the collateral damage of the European invasion. I also hope you will join me in grieving too for the immense suffering of our sisters and brothers in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Palestine, in Iraq, and in Syria. All human beings who suffer and face acts of terror on a daily basis. Remember, too, the hundreds of millions of people who go hungry today no matter where they live. We condemn all acts of violence and terrorism perpetrated by all governments and organizers against innocent civilians worldwide. Since the invasion of Columbus and the rest of the Europeans, Native people have been virtually non-stop victims of terrorism. The slaughter of the Pequots at Mystic in 1637, the U.S. military massacres of peaceful Native people at Wounded Knee and Sand Creek, and so many, many other places. The very foundations of this powerful and wealthy country are the theft of our lands and the slaughter of Native peoples, and the kidnapping and enslavement of our African sisters and brothers. Yeah. Today, on liberated territory, we will correct some history and do so in a country that continues to glorify butchers such as Columbus, in a country that glorifies slave-owning presidents such as Washington and Jefferson, and even carves their faces into the sacred hills of the Lakota. Now, on our program will only be Native speakers. This is one day when we speak for ourselves without non-Native people, the so-called experts, intervening to interpret and speak for us. Our very presence frees this land from the lies of the history books, the profiteers, and the myth makers. We will remember and honor all of our ancestors in struggle who went before us. We will speak truth to power. We will remember in particular all of our sisters and brothers, including Leonard Peltier, Mumia Abu Jamal, and Oscar Lopez Rivera, who are caged in the iron houses. In 1970, very few people would have given any thought to the fact that the indigenous people of this hemisphere do not look upon the arrival of the European invaders as a reason to give thanks. Today, many thousands stand with us in spirit as we commemorate our 47th National Day of Mourning. And to our beautiful Native youth, I say, learn about and remember what your ancestors went through to bring you here. And we are like the dirt, like the sand, like the tides, we shall endure. In the spirit of Crazy Horse, in the spirit of Metacom, and in the spirit of Geronimo, but above all, in spirit of the water protectors at Standing Rock. And rest assured of this, we are not vanishing. We are not conquered. We are as strong as ever.
Good afternoon. My name is Matowi Monroe, and I'm co-leader of United American Indians of New England. And I wanted to introduce our co-chair today. Her name is Talia Carol Cachimwell. She's a Northeastern University student. She is a Quechua indigenous activist, and she works very hard to protect the rights of undocumented youth. So welcome her, please. You'll hear more from Talia, I promise. Greetings to all our relations from the four directions who have come to be with us here today. And welcome to our beautiful indigenous people of all colors who have come from nearby and far away. Welcome to those who have traveled a long distance to be here. Thank you to the International Action Center and our friend Daoud from Laku, New York, for organizing buses. Thank you to the elders who are here today. Some of them are in their 80s and 90s, and they're still here with us. We send out love today to our Muslim family, disabled family, Black family, and yes, Black lives do matter. Our Asian family, Palestinian family, immigrant and refugee family, LGBTQ Two-Spirit family, our union family, some workers from Local 26 Harvard University Dining Services are working in the kitchen up the hill right now, helping to get the social ready for later. And we have lots of members of Local 8751 Boston school bus drivers helping out with sound and other logistics today, as they have done since 1970. Welcome to all the youth and students who have traveled here from many schools. And we give a big shout out to the hundreds of people from this region who are in Standing Rock right now, but are also standing with us in spirit today. We hope that some people in Standing Rock will be able to hear the live stream of what we're talking about today, but we know that many of them will not be able to because the police there continue to block out communications frequently so that they can't get service. But even without that, we know that they will feel our presence here today and that they will hear us. Because today, we do not give thanks, for the invasion of the Pilgrims, but we do give thanks for the water. We give thanks for the water protectors and send our love to Standing Rock today. We must all be water protectors and land protectors. We must all protect each other, too. And we are here today to say that Indigenous resistance runs from Plymouth Rock to Standing Rock. All of you will have heard at least something about the courageous resistance of thousands in North Dakota against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Some of you here have even been able to travel there to show your solidarity. Since last April, water protectors at the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota and from all over Turtle Island have been pouring in to stop the Dakota Access Oil Pipeline that is scheduled to run through 4 states and under the Missouri River and threaten the drinking water of millions. The pipeline will run through unceded treaty land and sacred ancestral sites. There is unprecedented unity in the gathering of nations at Standing Rock. People from not only the Americas, but also Kanaka, Sami, Maori, Australian Indigenous, and many more. Standing Rock has been the biggest display of Indigenous resistance and unity any of us has ever seen. Yes, it is something new happening just this year. It's a new awakening or reawakening for millions. Yet it is also part of a continuum of Indigenous struggle that stretches back for centuries, stretches back to Taino resistance, to Metacom, trying to unite everyone to push the English back into the ocean, to the Wounded Knee occupation in 1973, and the Ganazadage and Gatnawage Oka summer of 1990. Let's do everything possible to preserve this unity that is now existing among Indigenous peoples. We are going to need it for the struggles ahead. And there is unprecedented support from non-Native people, some of whom are risking their lives by locking down on equipment or standing on the front lines. The peaceful no-DAPL struggle has been met with intense repression. Law enforcement, including police from other states and the National Guard, block roads. They have pepper sprayed and tear gassed and shot peaceful water protectors with rubber bullets repeatedly. They have used sound cannons. They shine bright lights all night on the camps. They fly overhead all day and night. They have used water cannons against our people in freezing cold temperatures. They drew loaded weapons as people were praying. They have thrown concussion grenades directly on people's bodies, resulting in critical injuries. You will have heard that Sophia Wilansky's arm, she was a student from Williams College, was pretty much destroyed, and many, many more people were injured too on Sunday night in the recent assault. People's right to travel and communicate freely has been restricted. This insane response has been coupled by security guards hired by the pipeline company who pepper sprayed protectors and sent specially trained attack dogs against them. Hundreds of people have been arrested. Some of them have been held in dog cages, many of them, most of them, strip searched. Elders have been arrested for preying on their ancestral lands. Yet very little of this has been covered by the corporate media. Through all of this, the federal government has refused to step in and put a stop to what is going on. Energy Transfer Partners is preparing to drill under Lake Oahe. President Obama, who promised years ago during a photo opportunity with the beautiful children of Standing Rock that he would stand with the people there and help them, he and his Department of Justice and other officials have for months turned their hard faces away from the people, away from the violence and human rights abuses that are going on. While Standing Rock is very much on our minds, we need to add that there are many other defenses of land and water throughout the Americas. All over Turtle Island, pipelines, fracking, mining and damming projects are being pushed through on indigenous land. When these projects happen, often man camps spring up. And this is a factor that leads to trafficking of indigenous women and missing and murdered indigenous women, girls, and two-spirits, which is thought of often as a Canadian issue, but is a big problem in Mexico, the US, and other places too. The contempt for the lives and bodies of indigenous women is deeply intertwined with the disrespect that settler colonialism has for the water and the land. In Mexico, in Guatemala, and Honduras, and other places, indigenous activists are being murdered. In Hawaii, the University of Hawaii tried to push through the TMT, the world's largest telescope project atop Hawaii's sacred Mauna Kea. Native Hawaiians rapidly organized and blocked the construction there, but the struggle is not fully resolved yet. In Arizona, crooked politicians such as Senator John McCain brokered a deal to hand over the sacred Oak Flat area to a mining company. But the San Carlos Apache have been fighting against that. The National Park Service has placed the site on the National Register of Historic Places, but that does not completely halt any mining proposals, and the Apache continue to be very alarmed about that situation. In Canada, the government recently approved a massive LNG, liquefied natural gas project, on the coast of British Columbia, and continues to push for more pipelines and damming projects that will destroy the land and water. They are always met with stiff opposition. Recently, for instance, in Nova Scotia, the Alton Gas Project had to back down because Mi'kmaq people exercised their treaty rights and organized fierce resistance. So many things come back to the water. Mini Wichoni, water is life. The U.S. has such a high overall living standard, yet families all around the country are having their water shut off because they don't have enough money to keep it on. And families in cities like Flint are being poisoned. What you may not know is that at least 13% of Native families in this country do not have tap water or a toilet, and many more do not have safe drinking water. Navajo babies in some parts of their reservation are born with uranium in their tiny bodies because the water is so contaminated due to generations of outside mining companies exploiting the natural resources there. At least 93 First Nations communities in Canada are under long-term boil water advisories, some of them for decades. I know some people are feeling discouraged or overwhelmed by so much that is happening lately, and I want to say to you, don't give in to that too much. Don't be immobilized by fear, because we have too much work to do. If you feel afraid, you will be a lot more afraid of what will happen if we do nothing. You may be feeling like you just woke up to a nightmare, but Indigenous people and our many other relations have been living that nightmare for centuries, and we are still here, and we are still fighting. Everywhere you look, protectors are defending land and water. There is no turning us back. We are not leaving or going anywhere. Our roots are here. They do not extend across the ocean. Now, more than ever, we need combined action. When we unite like what we are doing today, we are powerful. That is what scares the government and corporations like Energy Transfer Partners. That is why they're trying to squash us at Standing Rock and elsewhere. Don't allow them to stop us or divide us. Maybe Standing Rock has made you rethink your relationship with the land and with the water. What is happening should also be sparking discussions and education about what Native sovereignty truly means and what a treaty represents. I've noticed some people are surprised when we're speaking about Native nations instead of Indian tribes. Some non-Native people, in fact, never even thought of the concept of Native nations before. What that means to have sovereign nations within the U.S. when everyone is taught that we are a melting pot of one nation under God. And some of us dare to envision much more. We envision decolonization, ridding ourselves of the ideas that colonialism has embedded in us because they are toxic. Resisting the subjugation of our bodies, minds, and lands. Freeing our minds and our lands. Turning to our own languages and understandings of every aspect of life. Rediscovering the power of our own institutions. But that is a conversation for another day. Mini Wachoni, No Dakota Access.
Alipunja Mashikuna. Hola, buenos días. Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Talia Carol Kachimuel, a third-year student at Northeastern studying human services. My family and I have been attending the Day of Mourning for as long as I can remember. My family is indigenous to Ecuador. We are Quechua. My father immigrated to this country at the age of 20 years old and built himself from the ground up. It is due to his passion, sacrifices, hard work, and determination that I am able to stand here today. His story is what drives my activism and the fight for equal rights. Coming from a small indigenous village in Ecuador called Montserrat, my father and his family faced varying forms of racism within their own community, the mestizo versus the indigenas. We need to dismantle oppressive systems in every facet, work together to build bridges, not walls, and fight the injustices that we see every day. Youth activism is imperative to the outcome of our future. Speaking up now more than ever is vital. As Martin Luther King once said, injustice everywhere, anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We need to fight against an oppressive capitalistic society that directly targets marginalized communities. Our voices need to be heard and we will not remain silent. My aunt, Rocio Cachimuel, is the president of FICI, an organization that works to protect indigenous rights. She adamantly works to defend and protect the indigenous people of Ecuador by being a resource to them as well as a water protector. She has dedicated her entire life to bringing positive social change to indigenous communities, and I plan on doing the same. The Dakota Access Pipeline is bringing contemporary Native American issues to the forefront of our society. The detrimental factors of environmental racism and the negative repercussions of these social issues are modern-day forms of oppression. Marginalized communities are the most vulnerable and often the most targeted in our society. As an indigenous Quechua woman, I stand in solidarity with other indigenous nations opposing the Dakota Access Pipeline. As a nation, we should be doing everything that we can to stop this pipeline from contaminating sacred Native American lands. Native Americans have faced colonialism, genocide, and oppression in this country, and through the Dakota Access Pipeline, we are seeing modern-day forms of indigenous neocolonization. We should be doing everything that we can to ensure that the citizens of our country have access to safe drinking water. Human rights are being compromised, and we will not back down. Our earth is sacred, our air is sacred, our water is sacred, and we must be held accountable. I would like to reference a quote from one of my favorite books written by my dear family friend, Greg Jobin Leeds. It's called When We Fight, We Win, 21st Century Social Movements and the Activists That Are Transforming Our World. He states, in response to the climate crisis, communities, especially ones traditionally excluded from power structures, are organizing to create an unprecedented global movement to defend their rights to health and well-being and attack the root political and economic causes of the crisis. This is what we are doing, standing together right now, creating an unprecedented global movement to defend our rights. Miukakani Talia Quichuaruna. Mi nombre es Talia y soy Quichuaruna. My name is Talia, and I'm an indigenous Quechua woman. Water is life. Thank you. And now we will hear from Juan Gonzalez with a message from the Council of Maya Elders.
I'm going to be able to read without my glasses. It's good to be back. The weather is beautiful. I was so worried because last couple of years I've been in the jungle, living in the jungle, in the Mayan jungle, and it's very hot and humid. So I'm so happy it's not cold today. But yeah, I was hoping for the rain because we are so concerned about water. I was hoping that the Creator will bless us with some rain. Where I am is I believe is the biggest reservoir of water, underground water. We call it cenotes, which is in the Mayan Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And if you have gone to like Chichen Itza, there's the Quetzalcoatl, the Kukulkan pyramid, and just recently the archaeologists discovered that the pyramid was built on top of one of these sacred water holes, the cenote. And most of the pyramids, and we have the Mayan pyramids, are also built over water, underground rivers, because water is so sacred, we grow inside our mother's womb is full of water. Our blood is water. Is the rain, the water that we drink turns into blood. But we don't seem to understand the importance of water, or even the rain, the air, that we breathe. It's just we need to teach ourselves again how to appreciate life. Every little piece of life. The Council of Maya Elders is unbelievable, busy dealing with all the issues facing all the communities known in Mexico, but in Guatemala. In Mexico, it's a different situation because the level of corruption in the government, and there is impunity, there is no respect for the law, for the Constitution. Every single politician is so corrupt. The police force, the army, so basically you have to defend yourself and be ready really to put up fight, and defend your life. The good news in Guatemala is that as we keep saying, when the Europeans came, when the invasion came with Christopher Columbus and Cortez and Pizarro all of those crazy criminals. We say, when they came, they stole our fruits from the trees. They cut off our branches. They burned our trunk, but they couldn't kill our roots. And that is true, And what is happening right now, besides a couple other Indian nations in South America, in Guatemala, there is a beautiful awakening of the culture and the people. The first time in history, the people protested for 4 months, and they took down the president and the vice president of the country, and they are in the process, they've been prosecuted because of corruption. And not only that, but other politicians, it's just the court system is so busy, with all these corruption cases. And because of this, the people, the communities feel more and more empowered. So it is beautiful to see this, because after, as I said before, hundreds of years of oppression, and the genocide, and still, now you can see children playing Mayan music, children playing, dancing Mayan dances, the language, the food, everything, and this is what we want. This is what the way it's supposed to be everywhere, because that's how beautiful is our creation, This thing of, just you go, no matter where you go, and you see the same shopping malls, and the level of consumption, and we, each of us, need to take responsibility. The more we consume, the more someone is being exploited, somewhere, for the resources, for the oil, for the little computer chips and the chips on the phones, and the smartphones and the flat screens, I know it's nice to have all those toys, but, someone is paying with blood, and someone is being oppressed for us to have, to go to Costco, to go to some of these places, have new shoes, Nike, and, I mean, please, if you have the opportunity to walk away from society, from this civilized world, and see how we, each of us, has some responsibility to all the crises that we are facing. So please do it. Thank you. I'm going to read the message from the Council of Maya Ajihab. Compañeras, compañeros, sisters and brothers of all the colors, in solidarity with our indigenous struggles. We are gathered here today to celebrate one more anniversary of our uprising as Lakota, Yaqui, Mapuche, Hopi, Guarani, Taironas, Wampanoag, Wayuu, Kom, Inuit, Yanomami, Maya, and the list of nations goes on and on and on. Generations ago, when we, the indigenous people of this continent, we exposed to the world that we, the original peoples of this continent, still exist, that we are here, and here we will be. But we don't want to live or die in humiliation of oblivion. If we have to die, then die fighting for sovereignty, and only for our sovereignty, but not on our knees. As we celebrate years of struggle for this sovereignty for all indigenous nations, We want to greet in a special way the compañeras y compañeros water protectors who are trying to fulfill their duty as insurgents by putting their lives in harm's way. From our ancestral homeland of Nokach, Balana, Campoche, the people of the Great Jaguar House receive all of you here our solidarity. Thank you, Patuche. You feel like home. Thank you for letting us share our voice with all voices of creation. And this is our voice. Chak Balam, you red jaguar. We create a new earth, created from the ashes of this present one. A new earth without forked tongues, hate, evil, death, corruption. Our Mother Earth is asking. She asked to die. She asked to be born. Our old Mother Earth has been disfigured, mutilated, wounded. Our old Mother Earth is crippled, blinded from so much crying eyes of our children, our youth, our elders. Breaking down goes through the days of time, and at night the stars have pity on our old Mother Earth. The Creator soon will hear our old Mother Earth's petition. Earth wanting to be new. Then, the Creator will release Chak Balam, the red jaguar that sleeps under her hammock. Waiting for that time, our nations are displaced people. Waiting for that time, our nations are displaced people, our own ancestors.
We cry with you, brother.
As we journey through our own ancestral homelands, we are listening to the waves of the waters. We see in the flow of clouds and wind. We smell in the breath of plants and trees. We feel in the affairs of all beings. It is the voices of our ancestors, our warriors. They are not dead. They are not under the ground. They live and they live in the trees that stirs in the water that flows. They are in the lodge, in the skyscrapers. They are there in the crowded cities and small towns. They live on in the woman's womb.
Yes.
They live on in the baby's smile.
Yes.
They live on in the youth's bloom, in the adult's vitality, and in the ripeness of the elders. They live on in the copal that burns. They live on in the fire. They live on in our heartbeat that is our drum. And this is our voice. That is why we share our voice to make known that we think and what we aim. We also listen to our sisters and brothers of all indigenous nations and all of our colors of the world, of what has happened this year and what will happen in the future. We are awaiting to unite our struggles with the struggles of people of all colors, who also suffer injustice, humiliation, and persecution. We need to talk about what we'll do, how to organize all of our struggles. Come, let's get together. El mundo que queremos es uno, donde quepan muchos mundos. The world we want is one, where many worlds can fit.
together we will liberate the world. Council of Maya Elders Akikat, Oshla Hubaktum Wakshakti Ish. Mateosh.
Change the order a little bit. I want to call the order of the program so that the speakers will know when they will be up and when they should be up. Bert Waters is going to give a Peltier statement shortly, and I have to tell you that he's 86 years old. Wow. He always wants me to tell everybody how old he is.
Last year too?
Somebody said, was he 86 last year too? And after Bert, we're going to have a blanket dance. And during the blanket dance, our Eastern Woodland singers, our sisters from Netikush, will be singing during that as people go around with a shawl to collect. Following that will be Yuade Hodaks. I'm close, maybe. Lily Myers. Following that will be Sister Bayo. Following that will be Tiokasin Ghost Horse. And following that will be Elder Vanessa Meshli Inaru. So, I need you up here. So, she's going to introduce the document and stuff and introduce them and stuff. So, we just okay?
Leonard Peltier is a native political prisoner and American Indian movement warrior who has been falsely imprisoned since 1976. He was framed up by the FBI for a crime that he did not commit. Many people here today were not even born yet when he was thrown in prison. Leonard Peltier is now 72 years old and in failing health. Right now may be our last chance before he dies to get presidential clemency. So everyone, please tell me that you will commit to support Leonard Peltier and demand that President Obama free him. We only have 56 days left. That's not very long. And we need an immense amount of public pressure to be applied. Leonard needs everyone to call and write President Obama today and every day. You can also join in the Week of Action in Washington, D.C. from December 4th through 10th. Please take the time to find out more about him and what you can do to help. We are honored to have a statement from Leonard Peltier today that will be read by Elder Bert Waters. Thank you.
These are my two grandsons. I have 5 children, but I only have 2 grandsons. Greetings, my relatives. Here we are again. This time, the year is 2016. It has been more than 41 years since I last walked free and was able to see the sun rise and set and felt the feel of free earth beneath my feet. I know there have been more changes than I can even imagine out there. But I do know that there is a struggle taking place as to whether this country will move on to a more sustainable way of life. This is something we wanted to have happen back in the 70s. I watched the events at Standing Rock with both pride and sorrow. Pride that our people and their allies are standing up and putting their lives on the line for the coming generations. Not because they want to, but because they have to. They are right to stand up in a peaceful way. It is the greatest gathering of our people in history,
and has made us more connected than ever before. We need to support each other as we stand our way in these times. Water is life. Water is life. And we cannot leave this issue for our children and grandchildren to deal with when things are far worse for the natural world than they are now. And Mother Earth is always in struggle. And I feel sorrow for the water protectors at Standing Rock, because these last few days have been brought a much harsher response from the law enforcement agencies, and our people are suffering. At least they are finally getting attention of the national media. My home is in North Dakota. The Standing Rock people are my people. Sitting Bull lies in his grave there at Fort Yates. My home is Turtle Mountain. It's just a few hours north of Standing Rock, just south of Manitoba, Canada. I have not seen my home since I was a boy, and I still hold out hope of returning there for whatever time I may have left. It is the land of my father, and I would like to be able to live there again, and before I die. I have a different feeling this year. The last time I felt this way was 16 years ago, when I last had a real chance for freedom. It is an uneasy feeling, an unsettling one. It is a hard thing to allow hope to creep into my heart and my spirit here in these cold buildings of stone and steel. On one hand, I have hope. On one hand, to have hope is joyful and wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. But the downside of it is, for me, there can be anything crueler than this. But today I will choose hope. I pray that you will all enjoy good health and good feelings. And I thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for all you have done and continue to do for me and for our Mother Earth. Please keep me in your prayers and thoughts as these last days of 2016 slip away. I send you my love and my respect for all of you who have gathered in the name of Mother Earth and our unborn generations. I stand with your spirit, Dashka, in the spirit of Crazy Horse. Let it up here.
We're gonna have a blanket dance. A blanket dance means that some of our people have a big red dance shawl that is going to go around, working its way around through people, and we're going to ask you to throw money in there. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want to raise money for two things today. One is for the Leonard Peltier Defense Committee. They desperately need funds for the work that they have to do in the next 56 days. We have 56 days to be able to get Leonard out, to insist that President Obama grant clemency to Leonard. So we're also raising money today for a component of Standing Rock. I think most people here have been reading enough about Standing Rock to understand that there are many different camps there. There are medics there. There are legal collectives there. There are people who are doing all the work of feeding people. There are security. It's literally like an entire world there with many different components. So we sort of struggled with where the money should go to because we can't give money to every single component at the camps there at Standing Rock. And what we've chosen, and we hope that you will agree with, is that part of the proceeds of the blanket dance will go to the Miniwachoni school that is there at the camps. That they are not only educating all the children who are there in camp in their own culture, in their own ways, in every possible way, but they also, very importantly too, because the children are engaged in that and learning, the parents are able to be more fully engaged also in other aspects of camp life and of the work that must be done there every day. And we're doing this because we truly believe with every fiber of our being that it's the youth who are our future, and regardless of how much longer the camps go on or anything else, that work is going to stretch out into the future of educating our youth so that they understand and know their culture and feel pride in their people and are able to lead the struggle forward for all of us. So as the shawl is going through the crowd, the Netikush is going to come up and introduce themselves and offer a couple of songs to you. They are sisters who are Eastern Woodland singers.
Louise, good morning, good afternoon. We humbly come before you as descendants of Massasoit, my daughter and I. Our group is Netikush. We're sisters of the Eastern Woodland women who teach and learn Eastern Woodland traditional music. The first song we're going to sing for you, we'll probably sing 3 songs, but maybe 4. The first song we'll sing to you was given to me by an elder, Tolo, and it's about a tune that came across the waters, and it was a warning that the people were coming, invaders were coming. So this song traveled through all the generations since the 1600s, through all the tradition. So I'm just going to sing a few lines of it. Yahweh, hey, Yah. Way hey ya, way hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, Yahweh hey ya, way hey ya, way hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, Yahweh hey ya, way. That was the tune that came across. We have more words to it. But that was the tune that came across. And it's just so humbling to see all these beautiful faces out here that are in support of Native people, Indigenous people, and no DPL. So, my friend Pam, who's one of the Netikush singers, wrote this song, and we thought it to be appropriate. Oh. Watasawi's Katu Sipu. My name is Talking Water.
Jasmine.
Sunflower.
Sunflower.
Isak Bishop. And yes, this song is called Take Back Your Settlement Act. Pam wrote this when she was at the Narragansett siege, when they stopped them from selling cigarettes. Take back your settlement act. Our sovereignty is still intact. Middle what we belong to this land. Forever we'll fight, always we'll stand. Way out, hey, yo. We taught when it's good to live with this land. Make PDs like trees to live with this land. shed, of blood we have shed across the shores. United States, what have you given us? Just regulations making us prove we're us. Way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, yo. Take back your settlement act, our sovereignty is still intact. You know what, we belong to this land, forever we'll fight, always we'll stand. Way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, yo. When we get a few casino dollars, or a bunch of you really just holler. Hey, Indians have thought they can't stand. They put us in the ground, send us back to the land. Way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, yo. Take back your settlement act, our sovereignty is still intact. You know what, we belong to this land, forever we'll fight, always we'll stand. Way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, yo. We are near the warmth, the people you see, and our survival is our victory. And we'll always pray to the great history, Kataba Natash, Katakwani. Take back your settlement act, our sovereignty is still intact. You know what, we belong to this land, forever we'll fight, always we'll stand. Way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, yo. We are near the warmth, the people you see, and our survival is our victory. We will never forget our victory. So take back your settlement act, our sovereignty is still intact. You know what, we belong to this land, forever we'll fight, always we'll stand. Way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, yo. I missed a few lines because that's a fan song. Here's the song that I wrote. Their Makasunash walk these paths, keeping the dreams for 7 generations. Way up, way up, hey up, way up, hey up, way up, hey up, hey up, hey up, way up, way hey up, way up, hey up, way up, hey up, hey up, hey up. Nakus to papoose, don't you cry, sassafras, cedar. generations. Way up, way up, hey up, way up, hey up, way up, hey up, hey up, hey up, way up, way hey up, way up, hey up, way up, hey up, hey up, hey up. The Marcus and Ash walk these paths, keeping the dreams for 7 generations. Sabotage.
Okay. Our next speaker is going to be Yuade Hodux, and it's Billy Myers, and he is a Mohawk musician who has been active at Standing Rock and with Walking with Our Sisters, Idle No More, and with many land and water rights struggles.
I'd like to say that it's really an honor to stand up here in front of all of my brothers and sisters. It was something that I've always wanted to do. I'm usually talking or speaking to my elders, so I'm never one to get up and actually do something like this. I did have a lot of time to talk to elders when I was at the Sacred Stone. But as an Iroquois, first thing we do before we do any speaking, which is called words before all else, is we give our Thanksgiving address. And our Thanksgiving address is a lot different than anyone's Thanksgiving address. These are words that include our relationship with each other and with living things. And the first article of the Thanksgiving address is to address the people. And the words are that we are all together and we see that life continues. And there's something that I would like everybody to do is that you look next to you, your right, your left, you see your brothers and your sisters, give them a hug. Give them a hug. Come on, right now. Let's do it. We're all in this together. Don't forget it. So the heck with what happened at the election, I don't believe any of it, you know. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just wanted to pass along a couple messages that I got from the elders. And I was very lucky to be invited. Like I play a lot of music with indigenous acts, and occasionally I get invited to play and sit in with bands. And this year I was offered the chance to play at the Unity concert at Piedmont, South Dakota, which really was a life changer for me. Folks, if you've never been there, next year is going to be an international event. I would say get out there if you can, by all means. First time I'd driven across the country in a long time, and boy, I was subjected to, I was never reminded who I was, especially when I was in Indiana. That's clan headquarters. Someone told me that too. But one of the things that the elders told me, and many elders, I talked to my, my Haudenosaunee spirit keepers and guides. Some of the folks from the Pine Ridge Reserve, Standing Rock, some of the Northern Cheyenne, they told me if I had a chance to talk to people, a group of people, they said you're all responsible for this. Conversations about buying things. Does anyone know where their food comes from? Or do you know that there's four companies in the world that control all of our seeds? I would just put it up to you to not buy bottled water, because water is so sacred, and stop buying bottled water. Know where your food comes from, please, people. You look at all these little children around here, and we really have to, we're the seventh generation. What's going to happen to the next seventh generations? We can't let anyone in the White House or any of these people that are put in place without our, agreement to control our destiny. We can't do that. And You know, tomorrow's Black Friday, and I think that's the only cool thing about being black. And I hear that Obama pardoned a turkey today, but Leonard Peltier is still working. But it's just unending. I was at the Sacred Stone on September 12th. I played the Unity concert from September 9th to the 11th, and everyone went up there at the 12th and had it was Leonard's birthday, actually. There were 6 fires burning for him, by the way. September 12th was Leonard Peltier's birthday. But on ending, I would just like to say that we are in control of this. Don't let anyone fool you. And don't be silent. Silent is a real disastrous thing. Do never be silent, people. Please. Now, the young man that sent me this flag from Standing Rock, he said that just to remind the people about water, and he has no running water. I was actually going to take a 5-gallon pail and walk through the streets of Plymouth, because that's what he has to do to actually get water for taking a bath, cooking, or what have you in the dead of winter. And if all of you feel a little chilly, think of all those folks out there in the front lines and on the camps. I plan on going back in January, so if anybody wants to brave the cold, I'd be willing to help drive. But on ending, bless everyone here. The last article on our Thanksgiving address is the Creator. We have to remember how we got here. And one more thing, the elders also said that they were walking a tightrope. That's one thing that rang through. They were all saying that we're at a tipping point here because Mother Earth is going to take the land back, with or without us. Yeah. We always talk about a good mind. In Haudenosaunee culture, we all talk about a good mind and one mind. Our minds have to be at one. And without a good mind and a mind being at one, we're never going to get this together. So as you leave, please remember to stick together. We're all in this together. And Nyawa, and I thank everyone. And lastly, my daughter, I am thinking that all the millennials here, they're the ones that are going to make this happen. So all you millennials, this is your world, and we're not going to let you lose it. So I'm going to hand this flag to my daughter, and she's going to carry it through the streets of Plymouth. But millennial folk, all of the new activists now are 30 and under, so I feel honored.
Is Sister Bayo around here? We have Sister Bayo, who's a daughter of the Mexica people, a Boston public school educator, and nurturer of many.
Pilahi, hello. Taokwaki, good afternoon. Tatsoklamati, thank you to these lands that hold us right now. Lands of the Wampanoag Nation, we are here to listen to your wisdom, bear witness to your truths, and serve you. I am from a spiral people, a people of Mexico, Native Mexica, West Nigerian, Portuguese, Spanish. 3rd generation removed from our pueblos on the mountains of Guerrero. 1st generation in Gringolandia, the US, via Los Angeles. I speak with and from a mestizo group culture, mixed generation. Our displacement looks like forced economic migration, speaking in tongues and several tongues of the colonizer, and denial of our own indigeneity. We are the generation of remembering body before the question, can I afford to be whole? When our tongues were still in our mouths, intuition was poder, power, not fear. Remembering spirit before the pillaging of our psyche. Remembering que somos del vientre de esta tierra. Remembering that we are from the collective womb of this earth. Remembering that memory gives us life. It is in our blood. splitting dream out of reality. Memory is ancestor, and ancestor is all. Our ancestors are rooted deep in us, streaming us into this very moment, praying that we remember. Remember that even though they try to kill our roots, cut it down with their diseases, war, and amnesia, wanting us to disappear through the deserts, in our waters, and into our mountains, to never hear our truths, we are still here. Remembering that ancestor is everything you didn't want, everything desired out of you. Olvidado, olvidado, olvidado. Pero la tierra, this land, these people, your ancestors, they remember. Nothing was, is, and can be written without them. And they are calling for, at this very moment, for Inakech. I am your other you, and you are my other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to you, to myself. And if I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. Today, on the day of the Ocelot, the day of the Jaguar, with power and valor and reckless abandon, we call on you to remember this oneness. You are me, and I am you, and you are me, and I am you, and you are me, and I am you. Que yo, como este árbol y este mar, me, like that tree and that ocean, we are one. We come from the same particles that came from that nothingness, that is made up of stardust. We are the stars, we are one. We are ancestor dreams, dreams of consciousness in life. Or we call on you to bow with your spirit in humility to the protectors of the water, protectors of el fuego, protectors of these tierras and aire, to the protectors of ancestral memory, our indigenous siblings, our indigenous and native communities who have held it down for centuries, who are holding these connections so true, truer than their hair that runs through every piece of you right now. Our indigenous siblings who are breathing truth that we will survive. Today I bring to you a message from the Great Council of the Grandmothers who write to us, who look at you with these words. We are watching you as you struggle to find safe harbor in the world around you, as storms and disappointments rage everywhere. Nations are quaking now. The land under your feet is quaking. Hollowed institutions are falling, and it's difficult to find steady ground. We understand what it's like for you at this time, and so we have come to uphold you. What is taking place in your world is not a terrible mistake. The present upheaval in society must occur, and no good will come from blaming others for the ills you see around you, for which of you is blameless. What you are witnessing is the great shift that was foretold long, long ago. It is here now, and you have a part to play in it. Whenever you link with us or with any form of the divine you love, you are able to hold steady, even while everything around you is collapsing. At this point in time, it is impossible to find stability in the other world, so don't waste your time looking for it. Do not respond to this worldwide upheaval by falling into despair and hiding yourself away, but instead gather with those who, like you, are also seeking the highest good. Call on us, hold the net of light, and come together to study our books and messages. You will find what you need. You are supposed to be here on earth. You took birth at this time in history because you wanted to be a part of this great change. So quiet your heart now as you turn within to the presence that has never left you and never will. Hold to this inner peace, place of silence, and from here we will guide you. We will guide you. We will be guided by our grandmothers and our ancestors. We have to shut up and listen. Today we are the warriors of Tetzictlipoca, God of the nocturnal sky and God of ancestor memory. We sacrifice our bodies to keep the flame of the old ones burning forever, burning into the 7 generations we are walking for. Tiawi.
why didn't I have a teacher like that in school?
Our next speaker is Teokasin Ghost Horse, a member of the Cheyenne River Lakota Nation of South Dakota. He's an international speaker of peace, indigenous, and Mother Earth perspective. Teokasin is the founder, host, and executive producer of First Voices Radios, formerly First Voices Indigenous Radio, for the last 24 years in New York City and Seattle, Olympia, Washington.
All right, you guys have a job to do. It's a job that you will never be fired from. It's called Mother Earth. You will never be fired from her, so you have to work with Mother Earth. Mini. Mini doesn't mean water in Lakota. Mini means that which carries feeling between you and I. That's what Mini means. Mini bichoni. So it does mean that which carries life between you and I. That's what Mini bichoni means in Lakota. What I'm trying to say here is I want to ask you now to give us 15 seconds, 20 seconds of quiet. Of quiet. What we're going to do in your own way, not in your mind, I'm going to ask you to invite Mother Earth here. Invite Mother Earth the way you can by being quiet within your heart. Wa kantanka namako ambetu le enio wazio blocking telo. Ukuchi lo ontaya amablaze yo. Mi waka pata ha yang namashio. Wicha yaka echeki ontaya ho anamanhopte ye. I ask you again to understand that this is not about civil rights. It's not about human rights. It's not any of those rights that you get your freedom from within that box called democracy. This is about Mother Earth and the Lakota people, our people. We both just came from Standing Rock. How many of you have been in Standing Rock? Raise your hand. So you understand what Niniwi Choni means. And it's your job to go out and understand, to employ other people to work for Mother Earth. That's our job. You take the titles away. Don't be millennials. Don't be political Democrats, Republicans, Americans. Be a being called human. Okay? Because we're done with that old thinking. That's vanishing point mentality when you describe things out of the box. We have never been in the box as Native people, ever. And you think about this. The Lakota people, and probably you, probably know now that we as Lakota people have always been reacting normally to an abnormal situation. And now it's your turn. It's the consciousness of Mother Earth that's alive and well. That's who we are fighting for. I've talked to many Lakota people, and they said, they're not going to die for a flag. They're not going to die for freedom. They're not going to die for Democrats or whatever, political, human rights. They're going to die for Mother Earth. It's a big difference. And I'm sure that when those peoples who are indigenous, Native people around the world, some people have to dig a mile down to get water, the meat, the milk, the life. This is what this country has done, the intelligence. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use the same language that puts you to sleep to wake you up with. This is about the consciousness, not your conscience, not the binary thought process you have, right and wrong. This is due to respect, a consciousness. I was speaking to a young brother, Spanish speaker, and asked him what real means. He says, well, it's real, but it's hierarchy. It means royal. So if you're living in reality, you're being given rules to live in reality. Native people have been living in relativity. That's who we are. We at Fort Yates in Standing Rock, the Lakota people, we are living in relativity. We are not defending Mother Earth. We are not an environmental group. We are Mother Earth in defense of herself. And we have to start thinking. I'm pointing to my heart. The chante. Chante washte na pechi up yellow. It's our greeting. I give you my heart with good feelings. Shake my hand with it. And that's what we do every morning in Standing Rock, in Sacred Stone, the land of the Lakota and Dakota and Nakota. We have a water ceremony. We greet the sun every morning. And that's what you can do. A small glass of water. And if you know in your own way that it's not about you, because you can say I, me, all you want, because there's 423 ways in English to describe self. There's only one in Lakota. Therefore, there is no separations. There is no separations. We are, I am, one Lakota living in one world. And that's how it is. If you get past your box of rationale, living in reality, somebody's king made up the rules for you. So, when you think about this, I'm going to say this to other folks because we were talking about this. You guys have a new president. Okay, so here's how it is. When we were talking, we said, well, there's a new curse word. And we say, no trumping way. So what we're going to do is understand Mother Earth. That's all it's going to be. Erase those religious, scientific, mental blocks that you have been putting up because you are still coming from democracy. You're still coming from that. I'm not saying, my uncle, who passed away last year about this time next month, said, we're not going to bring the government down as Native people. Corporations have already done that. So, what are you going to do when we say we will die for Mother Earth as Lakota people? There's 1,000 of us here. 1,000. Someone said there was only 8 here many, many decades ago. So look at this. Now the consciousness needs to go. But let's get out of the conscience and get into the consciousness of your heart. Because that's the language you have been missing. I've been speaking it. My brother here speaks it. So it's time to understand these quantum physics languages that doesn't exclude anyone. When we pray, we'll check, we're not praying for self. All of this is praying with us. All of this is praying with us. Oyate tokahe wichakie means I put everything else before myself. And that's what we do. You pray for others, never yourself. Pray for others, trees, all these, because they're always praying for you. Therefore, we know that we're helping each other, that you can heal each other simply by not thinking about yourself first. So in that way, if I can teach you only one way, one phrase, those of you who have been at Standing Rock, Mini, Wichoni. So when I say Mini Wichoni, you say water is life. Mini Wichoni.
Water is life.
Mini Wichoni.
Water is life.
Mini Wichoni.
Water is life.
Mini Wichoni.
Water is life.
Mini Wichoni.
Water is life.
Mini Wichoni.
Water is life.
Thank you.
Okay. Our last speaker here is Inaru, and she is from the Poio Atapai Indigenous Women's Circle and also from Peace and Dignity Journeys.
So my relatives on the right, on the left, and in front of me and behind me, I say greetings. I recently just returned from a Peace and Dignity journey where many of the young people from many different nations ran from the tip of Alaska and from Tierra del Fuego coming up through all of the 3 continents, North America, South America, Central America, and also from the Caribbean. These people ran, these young people ran in prayer. Their prayers were to connect to Mother Earth. 4 years ago, we also had that same run, and these young people ran to connect to the spirit of Mother Earth and to the water. This time, it was the seeds, preservation of our seeds, the seeds of everything that lives, and that includes the seeds, everything, the trees, the earth itself that we connect to, as well as the seeds that are carried in all the young women that are here that can give birth, for you carry the seeds of tomorrow in your wombs. As we also are the seeds. It is said that they tried to destroy us as Native peoples. They tried to take us out, but here we are. We are the seeds. And so, I've come to this gathering now, I think, for 3 years. And it's always good to come and see all of you. What many have said, we already, I'm not going to repeat it. We all know why we're here. We all know what we must do. But I wanted to share with all of you some of the symbols that my people use for water. And our word for water is ni. 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 In the Caribbean, in Mourning, aka Puerto Rico, we are also standing strong and saying we connect with the water and the preservation of the water. Just like with Standing Rock, we have similar situations, and recently in Peñuelas, nuclear waste was going to be deposited in some of our rivers. So we had to stand up and say, no, that's not going to happen. We also stood against a pipeline about 5 years ago, and we stopped that pipeline.
young runners, connect to the spirit of Mother Earth. Connect, ground yourselves. Feel her in your heart. Feel her in your spirit. For she will strengthen you. And she will give us all the courage to continue. The days and the years ahead are uncertain, given the political climate that we did not create, but that was imposed on us. And so you will need to be strong of spirit. Water is life. And water is life for every living being on this planet, on Earth. With that, I want to say thank you for allowing me to say a few words. And also, please remember all of the people we had several of our young women from our organization go to Standing Rock and stand there, and some were hosed down with very cold water and all kinds of aggression towards them. And we must remember all of the warriors out there. When I stand here, and I'm talking to you, I don't write speeches, I speak from my heart. I remember a lot of people that through the years I've met, and I had the honor of meeting people like John Trudell, Russell Means, all of the great Lakota warriors, Overlooking Horse, very special medicine man. So let's keep all of that community and all of those people in our hearts and in our minds, and continue to support them with all that we've got, because in supporting them, we're supporting ourselves. We're supporting ourselves. And along with everyone else, years ago, I said it, I think I was up here and I said it, we shouldn't be drinking bottled water. We should just not buy bottled water. All right? We ourselves are contributing to this whole situation by not paying attention to things like that. All right? So stand strong, stand together as human beings, as children. You're the seeds of Mother Earth. I also want this young woman up here because I want her, if all of you would share this with us, to as many of you as you can, to come closer together and repeat this chant, this chant that she's going to share with all of you. And forgive me because I have a cold. I just came back from that long journey, and also I'm on medications. So you introduce yourself and power to the people.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Kathy Crawford. I'm a sister with the Urban Athletics Healing and Community Group. And so as we get connected, I just wanted to bring in sisters Asada Shakur into this space. So that everyone could connect. You can hold hands, you can put your hand on someone, just connect, so we can all connect as a group and as people. And so this is a call and response chant. And so we'll say it 3 times. The first time will be in a whisper, and you'll just repeat what I say. The first time will be in a whisper, the second time will be in your regular voice, and the third time will be as loud as you can, so our ancestors can hear this chant and hear these words, okay? So it is our duty to fight. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. It is our duty to fight. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. It is our duty to fight. It is our duty to fight. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect each other. We must love and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. All kinds of people. All kinds of people.
Now it's time for the march. We're going to march through town and we're going to make our voices heard.